Live from the studio at the Northwest Florida School of Biblical Studies, this is Have a Bible Question, where you are part of the program. Now, let's go to the Bible for answers to your Bible questions.
Mr. Curious Jr. wrote into us.
Oh, good.
Remember we had Mr. Curious last time. Now it's Mr. Curious Jr., all right? Is it wrong for a Christian to own a wedding venue and sell or provide alcohol?
Oh, wow.
The main money-making component to the guests.
Wow. I've actually encountered this with a brother down in South America. When I was down there, he had a what do you call it? Like a little convenience store. There in South America, lots of people have little convenience stores, and that was his biggest concern, being a Christian and selling alcohol, because that was his big money maker.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one. All right. So, some people watching the program, I think it might be important of why is the alcohol a concern? Why is this question even being asked? Because sometimes we just kind of assume that we're all on the same page, and to some people, they'll be like, well, what's the big deal? It's just a little wine, little beer, no big deal. So if we wanted to answer why would we be concerned of this, I'll use Galatians 5 and talk about the sin of drunkenness is what the concern is there. We're not talking about like when Paul tells Timothy, take a little wine for thy stomach's sake, a medicinal purpose. We're talking about the idea of recreational use of alcohol. And that goes back, Troy, to the YouTube thing. Google that on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and you will find where we answer the question about why alcohol or why drunkenness is a sin. And you can find that. So the concern in this question is, are you contributing to that sin if you own a wedding venue and you sell and provide the alcohol? And so good concern. I can appreciate somebody having, that brother down in Paraguay having that to have the wherewithal to say, I realize my actions must reflect Christian values.
And that's the key. That's the absolute key. So one of the first verses that came to mind, there's several, but one of them is James chapter 4, verse 17. And that is, therefore to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. And I think that's where this is coming from. I believe whenever you start asking those questions, you're wrestling with this verse right here. To him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. And so that's what's happening is, man, am I committing sin by allowing this, by participating in this? Well, that now brings us into the conscience, right? Mm-hmm. And what we need to do with our conscience. And boy, if you search that, if you type in the word conscience, if I do that right here in I got to spell it right first. I guess that helps. So you have lots of verses that talk about it. A pure conscience. In 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 2, talking about speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their own conscience seared with the hot iron. In other words, you can get so involved in sin that you don't even realize it because you've accepted it so much. Mm-hmm. Having their conscience defiled, and over talking about cleansing your conscience from dead works and stuff like that. So this is a difficult thing for a Christian, but it all comes down to a judgment call.
Well,
yes and no, he says.
Well, judgment call on the selling and profiting off of. I mean, all right, let's take something like pornography. The convenience store man, can he sell pornography?
Great point.
No, it's a sinful thing. Christians, all right, let's think about Romans chapter 1. Oh, that's the verse we need to go to. Very last verse of Romans 1. What is that? I can't remember.
About how they condone sin. They not only practice sin, but they condone it.
They have pleasure in them that do them, these unrighteous things. All right, so we go to Romans 1. I never really thought about using Romans 1 this way, but I think it actually fits exactly the context because it talks about these evil sins, unrighteousness, It says, but knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. And a lot of times we say have pleasure in the idea of enjoyment, but isn't, if you're selling things that contribute to unrighteousness for that purpose, wouldn't that be finding a pleasure in those things?
I think you could make the case for that, and I think that's what's pricking their conscience. I think that's why there's a lot of verses that you have to wrestle with in order to deal with this conundrum that the Christian has found himself in.
Exactly. Oh, a couple good questions just came in. We're going to get right to them here in just a moment. Jeff, did you have something you were trying to add?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that if somebody is at a bar and they get drunk, they get in their car and they drive away and they're in an accident, isn't there laws that holds the bartender somewhat responsible for that?
There are indeed.
Yeah, laws are different in every state. So before you get like real technical on us, somebody writing in, just realize there is the legal concept of being responsible for whether you sold an item that was used to contribute to that.
That just came to my mind.
Oh, there's a law. What about contributing to the delinquency of a minor?
Mm-hmm.
And I know the law in Mississippi on this because I was a cop. If I was to give alcohol, make it available to somebody under the age of 18, I could be charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor. So if our own laws of this land understand the idea of contributing to this behavior, if you are a wedding venue or a grocery store or a convenience store, and you are making it possible for people to do this behavior, you're contributing. We understand that in the worldly concept, and so why would we try and justify it? And why would I want a business where this kind of behavior is going on anyway? I mean, man, that coffee was getting to me. I don't know if you could pick that up on the microphone or not, but there's some businesses that Christians probably should avoid. And I'm not saying you can't own a wedding venue, but I would be very concerned because do I want a place for lascivious dancing? Do I want to be a part of that? I hate to go too personal here, but I think, Troy, isn't that one of the reasons you got out of the music industry?
Exactly right.
Do you mind me going there? Because I've already gone.
There you are.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's go to Troy's past. No, actually, that's exactly right. That is why I got out of the business. And I was going to that verse that says we are to flee all appearances of evil. I think that comes into play here as well. And that's, just so you know my history, I was a professional musician.
Very good, by the way.
Mm-hmm. And some people. I
love listening to you sing.
Okay. World famous in a little town. Anyway, I was a professional musician and singer and had a lucrative career and a promising career. And the further I got into the business, the music business, the deeper and darker I saw how dangerous it could be. And finally realized that if I kept going down that path, I was going to be in a lot of debt. I was probably going to lose my marriage, my wife, because most of you know how marriages usually are in the entertainment industry. And more importantly, I was going to lose my soul. And that's the key right there. So the one, Mr. Curious, if you're struggling with this, that's the question you need to ask yourself. Is this going to have an eternal impact on my soul?
Mm-hmm.
That's really the question you need to answer. And so I think we've made the case.
And can you do it to edify?
Right. We've made the case, biblically, that there's some problems with it. And so now you need to ask the question about how's it going to affect your soul? Is it worth it?